in the bustling outer rings of the Zekron galaxy, where strange suns burned turquoise and gravity shifted like the wind, a slave market thrived on a metal planet called Dravos 9. Ships from hundreds of systems docked here, carrying cargo, weapons, and lives. Among those lives was Kyra, a tall, silver-skinned alien woman with violet eyes and hair like dark liquid. She belonged to the Mirani, a race once known for peace and art, now scattered and hunted after their planet was destroyed in the Hive Wars. She stood silently in a rusted cage, ignored, unwanted, and marked worthless by her captors. No one had spoken a kind word to her in over 2 years. She had been traded so many times, she no longer remembered the name of the first person who sold her. Her value had dropped to nothing. Traders joked that she was broken, no longer useful, and kept her only as part of a bulk deal for scrap androids. But everything changed the day Elian Ross, a human engineer from Earth, arrived at the market. He wasn't a buyer. He had come to fix a broken navigation beacon. But as he passed the line of cages, his eyes met hers. She didn't cry, didn't speak, didn't even flinch. But something behind her eyes, something deep, called out to him. Elion stopped. "Who is she?" he asked the merchant. The alien merchant, a worm-like creature with metal-tipped tentacles, chuckled. "Her? Useless. She's yours for a piece of chocolate." Elion blinked. "You're joking." "Nope, she's nothing." He reached into his jacket, pulled out a wrapped chocolate bar, and handed it over. The merchant grabbed it greedily, while Alien opened the cage. Kyra didn't move. "It's okay," Elian said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." Still silent, she stepped out, barefoot on the dusty ground, following him like a shadow. Back at Alien's small ship, the Starfly, he gave her clean clothes, water, and food. She didn't speak, but watched everything. She slept curled up in a corner of the engine room for the first 2 nights. On the 3rd day, she finally said something. "My name is Kyra." That was all. But to Elian, it was a start. Over the next few weeks, he taught her how to use the control panels, fix wires, and even cook Earth food. She learned fast, faster than anyone he'd ever seen. She had an incredible memory and could mimic languages after hearing them only once. One night, while floating through a quiet part of space, she looked out the window and said, "I've never seen stars like this." Arian sat beside her. "They were always there. You just needed someone to help you see them again." They became a team. Elian took small repair jobs on moons and spaceports. Kyra worked alongside him, fixing, learning, and sometimes smiling. But word traveled fast in the galaxy, especially strange rumors. A Mirani woman traveling with a human, fixing broken space stations, making ships fly smoother than ever before. The Mirani were supposed to be extinct, or enslaved. It didn't take long before trouble came knocking. One day, while docked at a station near the edge of the Trachor Nebula, 2 bounty hunters approached their ship. One was tall and scaly, the other short with robotic arms. They demanded Kyra be turned over. "She belongs to the Black Syndicate," the tall one growled. "She belongs to no one," Elian replied firmly. The shorter hunter pulled a weapon. Kyra stepped forward, eyes glowing. Before either hunter could move, she raised her hand, and the lights around them shattered. Energy burst from her body, knocking the hunters flat. Silence followed. She turned to Elian. "I didn't want to show you." He stared in awe. "What was that?" She lowered her hand. "A part of what they tried to erase. My people were more than artists. We were energy binders. We could manipulate light, sound, even matter. That's why we were hunted." Ariane stepped closer. "You don't need to hide it anymore." The Starfly was no longer just a repair ship. Now it had a mission. They traveled to broken colonies where people suffered, offering help. Kyra used her powers quietly, never for harm, only healing, repairing, rebuilding. People began to whisper of a glowing woman who could fix cities with a touch, a man from Earth who protected her like a brother, a partner, or something more. One day, on a distant desert world named Talran IV, they found a ruined Mirani ship buried in the sand. Kyra walked among the wreckage and stopped in front of a faded symbol. "My family's crest," she whispered. Inside, she found old data crystals, memories, songs, language. With Alien's help, they restored the ship's AI core and recovered hundreds of names and maps of hidden Mirani survivors. Kyra's eyes burned with hope. "They're not all gone," she said. And so began a new purpose: finding the lost. But the Syndicate, the same merchant who sold Kyra for a chocolate bar, now wanted her back, not out of guilt, but greed. Word of her powers had reached the darkest corners of space. A trap was set. On the artificial moon of Garis Prime, Kyra and Elian responded to a fake distress call. When they landed, they were surrounded by drones and bounty hunters. "You're worth more than a star cruiser now," sneered the merchant, now fat with money and fame. Kyra raised her hands, but Elian stepped in front of her. "No," he said. "This time we fight together." He tossed her a small device he'd been working on for months, a harmonizer that amplified her natural energy safely. Kyra's body glowed as the device synced with her. The attackers opened fire. Kyra's powers pulsed like a heartbeat, turning every laser into harmless light. With each wave, she dismantled the drones without destroying them. She didn't kill. She disabled. She protected. Elian used his tools to disable their ships, cutting off escape routes. In minutes, it was over. The merchant crawled toward Kyra, begging. "Take it," she said, handing him the same wrapper from the chocolate bar he once took as payment. "That's all I was worth to you." He looked up, ashamed. She turned away. Months later, Kyra stood before a gathering of Mirani survivors on the green moon of Elthra. She had become their beacon, their voice. Elian stood beside her, smiling. A Mirani elder approached him. "You saved her." Elian shook his head. "No, she saved herself. I just gave her the chance." Later that night, as the stars shimmered above, Kyra took Elian's hand. "I was sold for nothing," she said softly, "but you never treated me like I was worthless." He looked at her, eyes full of pride. "Because you were never nothing. You were always more than they could ever see." And in that quiet moment, under alien skies, they both knew something had changed. Not just for Kyra, not just for the Mirani, but for the galaxy.